Hey everybody, what's up? I tried to do this video earlier, but I ended up being interrupted and I ended up splitting it into two parts, but I figured, I pretty much got what I want to say down about well, the topic above, this being a response to Talk Wrestling HD's Jeff Meacham's first Talk Wrestling HD of 2011, where the question was how to make TNA better in this year, in this upcoming year. And I talked about it a little bit when I did a response to the Wrestling Gurus and Ace's Wrestling Corner when they did the first episode of the Guru Lounge. So I figured I'd do a little response here and see what you guys think about it. And again, like I said, I touched a little bit on it in that video, but I'm going to go full out because I got a little bit more time on my hands. So anyway, everybody wants to know, everybody's asking, what can TNA do to make itself better this year? And the way I look at it flat out is they need to capitalize on some things that they have. For example, they got this, I guess, this new partnership going with AAA, because they're trying to bring in Zorro into TNA and under a new name. But they got this association overall now with AAA again. And they got this association with New Japan, as, witnessed by this past January 4th in Tokyo. So the question is, how do they capitalize on this? On these partnerships and everything, these associations? Well, it's real simple. You see, there's a few things that fans have been, well, not a few, but a lot of things fans have been complaining about. And it's not just the fans, but it's also like wrestling insiders and, reporters and stuff like that. And, everybody's been saying that TNA needs to fix a few things, fix some things in the company to make it better. For example, they say the X division, the one division that put them on the map when they first got started, is dying. It's basically not the way it is. It's a joke, as some people have called it, of what it was. Because right now the main focus of the X division on apparently four wrestlers. Jay Lethal as the champion, the current challenger Kazarian, Rob Echoes, or Robbie E as he's known, and Amazing Red. The other X Division guys like Generation Me and the Motor City Machine Guns are all involved in tag team action. Now, people want to know, what can TNA do to fix their X Division? Well, here's what I look at. Like I mentioned at the beginning, they got these partnerships with AAA now, again, apparently have a new partnership with AAA, as well as they got this partnership with New Japan. Here's an answer. Capitalize on it. Bring in some of the Lucha Libre wrestlers from Mexico, from AAA, as well as bring in some of the Japanese wrestlers from New Japan that you feel would fit right in with your X division. Once you do that, I guarantee, once TNA does that, I guarantee the X division will get better. Yes, like I mentioned, they got the Motor City Machine Guns, who are still considered X division wrestlers. They have Generation Me. That's no problem. Okay, that's no problem. You want to put them into the X division title hunt? Go ahead and do it. That'll help out. And you know what? You know what would even be better? Because they always live, I don't know if they still go by the saying or not, but the saying was, when they first started, was the X Division wasn't about weight limits, it was about no limits. Okay? It was about no limits. Alright? Basically meaning anybody could compete in it. So if that's still the case, here's what you do. You take someone like the Pope, who you want to make a champion. You take someone like Samoa Joe, who's been the X Division champion before, and has brought prestige to that championship, and you put them into the championship hunt and see what happens. Get what I'm saying? That's one of the things that you do for to rebuild your X division. You capitalize on your association and partnerships with New Japan and AAA. You capitalize on these partnerships. You bring in some of the Lucha Libres from AAA, as well as your Japanese wrestlers that you feel would fit in with the X division, and go from there. As well as allowing guys like, say, maybe the Pope, maybe Samoa Joe to get in on the hunt. But not just them either. Go look on the independent circuit and try to find some people there. Listen to what certain legends and certain alumni in wrestling, those that have retired from the sport and are training the future stars, what they have to say about certain people. I mean, there are some names out there like Moxley and Joey Ryan and Jimmy Jacobs and Paul London that you could bring in and they would electrify and reinvigorate that X division. No doubt about it. So again, capitalize on your partnerships with Mexico and Japan. Look on the indie circuit as well. Look on the indie circuit. Bring in those that people would like you to bring in, as well as probably let guys like Joe and Pope into the hunt, just so they could at least have a crack at being a champion in some way or another in TNA. Alright? That's the way I would do. That's one of the ways I would help make TNA better this year. Help rebuild certain things in TNA and make them better. Now, you may agree with that, you may not. But the same could be said for both knockout divisions. The knockout division in itself could be on the verge of giving the fans a dream match. That's right. Let me explain. This Sunday at Genesis, Mickie James is going to be facing Madison Rayne. Here's what you do to get to the dream match. You take the title off Madison Rayne, you put it on Mickie James, you push her like you continue to push her as your new babyface knockout, as you currently are, and you put her against the knockout you're currently pushing as your new top heel knockout in Sarita. That's right, Sarita. Now you might be saying, well, Brian, they've already faced each other before on Impact and on Explosion. Yes, they have, but never on a scale as big as competing against each other for the Knockouts title. I mean, yes, they had great matches in the previous two times they faced, but nothing was on the line. You put the Knockouts Championship in the you add the Knockouts Championship to the scenario of Sarita and Mickie James against each other, and put it on a bigger scale, like say a pay-per-view, and I guarantee you these ladies will go all out. I mean, the matches they had before would be blown out of the water. That's one of the ways you help fix your Knockouts division, by focusing on that matchup. Sarita, Mickie James. But that's not all. That's not all. Just like I said with the X division, you got a whole variety of women wrestlers in Japan and in Mexico that you could bring in and help revitalize this division. The same goes with the indie circuit. And believe me, there's a numerous of names on the indie circuit that fans know would fit in well with TNA's knockout division, would help really revitalize it and make it better than what it's trying to become once again. I mean, the names have been tossed out there by the fans, names have been tossed out there by wrestling reporters and insiders, as well as legends and retired wrestlers in this, as well as legends and those that have retired from the business. Names like Mischief, you've had her there before in your early days. Bring her back. Sarah Del Rey, bring her in. You've had her there a couple of times. Daisy Hayes, bring her in. Alright? Serena Dweeb, Serena, capitalize on that. Bring her in. You know, the list could go on and on. I mean, right now, your knockout division is trying to revitalize itself, is trying to get better, but your main focus so far is Mickie James, Madison, Tara, and Velvet, and Sarita. But your main focus, obviously, after Genesis, if you put the title on Mickie James, which I feel would be the best thing to do, then your main focus is going to shift from Mickie James and Madison and Mickie James and Tara to Mickie James and Sarita, because I feel that TNA is going to try to go in that direction. But again, you got some very talented women wrestlers in Japan, and from what I've seen on AAA's 2-hour Saturday night show, a weekend show on Galavision, you got some very talented high-flying women wrestlers, or Lucha Libre women wrestlers in AAA. Bring them in and it'll help revitalize your Knockouts division. And the same goes with the Knockouts tag team division. Because here's the thing. Some people may say, now some people may not look at it like this, but here's the way I look. Here's what could happen. If you take the championship off Madison this Sunday, if you make that decision, if TNA makes that decision, then what they could do is focus on Madison and Tara being a tag team in the Knockouts tag team division. Alright? That's what you can do. Focus on them being a tag team in the Knockouts tag team division. And then by doing so, believe it or not, that would help slowly revitalize what people are saying, what many have said is a waste of a division. A division that shouldn't even be around. It would help revitalize it. Because what they could do is they could take the titles of Angelina and Winter, because we all know that sooner or later it's going to be revealed that Winter is just using Angelina, has just stalked her and used her for her own gain or something like that. Take the titles off them, put Velvet and Angelina back together as a team, have them challenge Madison and Tara for the titles, as well as start bringing in some of the ladies, like I mentioned, from the indie circuit, as well as Mexico and Japan, and put them together as teams. Alright? I mean, heck, you even have, and I know this is crazy for me to sound, you have Cookie. Alright? You have Cookie. Put her in a tag team with somebody. Bring in I don't know who, for what wrestler she's with. I know she was associated with somebody in the WSU. I can't think of the lady's name or the woman's name, but she was associated with this girl. I think her name was April Hunter, I believe it was. I'm not sure, but if you can get someone like April Hunter and bring her in, then I guarantee you bring in April Hunter, someone like April Hunter, team her up with Becky Bayless or Cookie, and you'll have a legitimate tag team there for the Knockouts division. And again, like I said, the Lucha Libre ladies in Mexico, the Japanese women in Japan, bring them in, team up the ladies you feel would fit smoothly together, would have chemistry together, and then before you know it, you'd have a revitalized Knockout tag team division. Now I know there's a lot of people watching this video that probably can name off a few ladies in AAA and in Japan that could gel well together, that can gel perfectly together as a team and help revitalize that Knockouts tag team division. I mean, take a look at Sarah Del Rey and Mischief. If you wanted to, if you could get your hands on those two, bring them in, not just have them in the hunt as top contenders probably for the Knockout title, but put them together as a tag team for the Knockouts division, Knockout tag team division. Hey, take someone like Mischief, who's been known to be a wild woman. Put her in there, team her up with Daphne and see what happens. You get what I'm saying? If TNA really wants to help out the Knockout division and the Knockout tag team division, again, like I said with the X division, capitalize on the partnership with AAA, Japan, look around the indie circuits, listen to what legends and those that have retired from the business have to say, what wrestling insiders have to say about certain women wrestlers on the indie circuit, like Ring of Honor, CZW, Dragon Gate, Evolve. Look at their women there and say to yourself, these women could help revitalize, and say to yourself and realize, wow, these women can help revitalize our Knockouts Tag Team division and Knockouts division, period. That's what I would do for 2011. To help make TNA better, to help make both my knockout divisions better in 2011, I capitalize on my partnerships with New Japan and AAA. As well as I look around the indie circuit, I listen to what people have to say, legends, those that are retired from the business, wrestling insiders, what the fans have to say, promoters. I listen to every source I can. I look at all these promotions like Ring of Honor, Dragon Gate, Evolve, CZW, and wherever else, and I say to myself, that woman or these women are exactly what we need to help really rebuild and revitalize both our knockout divisions in 2011. And I guarantee, if TNA does that, the people at TNA do that, people will start talking more about that knockout. People will start, fans and people in general will start talking about the knockouts division more than you've ever thought of before. More than you ever could have guessed. And I can tell you that's a fact. That's not a lie. That's a fact. Now, what else can TNA do to make itself better this year? Well, one of the things they could do is, if they're trying to make this also goes for another championship, it's their television championship. Now, obviously, it looks like they're trying to elevate the television championship as their answer to the WWE's Intercontinental Championship and United States Championship. That's what they're trying to do. Well, here's what you do. Here's what you do. You don't give the title back to AJ because he had a long enough run with it. You don't give the title back to him because apparently if you got plans to make him a face, you go with the face. But here's what you do. You take wrestlers, like I mentioned two of them earlier with the X Division, like say Joe and Pope, and instead of always putting them in a world title hunt, you put them in the hunt for the television title. That way, if you're going to try to elevate your television championship to the status that on paper it makes the champion, the television champion, the official, on paper, the official #1 contender to the TNA World title, then do it. I mean, think about it. Take your television championship, put it on someone like, say, the Pope, and then slowly start to build the Pope up to being world champion. That would be a great stepping stone. That would be a great start. Same would go with Joe. You want to get Joe back to that get Joe back to being world champion again? Give him the television championship, let him run with it, build him up once again, and then give him a run at the world title. That is the best way. That to me would help make TNA better, because if they're trying to elevate this championship, this television championship, and make it, like I said, their answer to the Intercontinental and the US titles in WWE, thus making it the championship that on paper officially makes the champion the #1 contender, then do it. Do it by putting it on somebody like the Pope, somebody like Joe. Heck, if you're bringing in Matt Hardy at Genesis or afterwards, put it on Matt Hardy, build him up to that world title run. And heck, even take someone like Matt Morgan and Ken Anderson. If one of them's not gonna, take the loser of that #1 contenders match, if we're gonna have a #1 contenders match, and I'll get into that in a little while, take whoever doesn't win that #1 contenders match, put them in the television championship race, have them win the television championship, and slowly build them up for a world title run, for a run at the world championship later on. I mean, if you're going to, like I said, if you're going to elevate this championship as being your answer to the Intercontinental and US titles, then do it. I mean, you put it on AJ, and apparently that means, to me, if AJ goes face, AJ's going to have a run of the world title once again. Alright? But again, to me, that's what would help make TNA better. And again, you got a whole list of guys, not just Joe and Pope and Anderson or Morgan or whatever, or even Matt Hardy if he's coming in. But you got a whole list of guys in the X division. Like, let's say for example, you have Kaz or Kazarian taking the title off Lethal this Sunday at Genesis. All right. Here's what you do: instead of giving Lethal a rematch, you put Lethal in the World Television Title hunt. And then, if you want to build Lethal up as being for a future world title run, you give him a run as the television champion, because that would help elevate him. And the same goes for Brutus Magnus and Desmond Wolfe. If you're going to build them up finally to being future world champions, give them both individual runs as television champion, and let them get as television champion, and then build them up for a future run as world champion. It would make the most sense, and believe me, it would help make TNA better in 2011. But that's one of the things that's one of the things I would do to make TNA better this year. If I'm elevating the television championship, like I said, to be my answer to WWE's Intercontinental and US championships, and thus on paper, officially on paper, make the champion the #1 contender for the world title, then that's what I should do. And whoever I want to put that championship on, then I gotta give them a decent run with it, so that I can properly build them up to a run with the world championship. Now, speaking of another championship that could definitely make TNA better this year, the tag team titles. Now some people are saying that the tag team division is kind of in shambles. It's not in shambles. In fact, it's way better than WWE's. In fact, I believe it's the second best tag team division out of all three companies. Ring of Honor having the better one. And I know that's hard for people to probably fathom or agree on. Probably not. But Ring of Honor does have the better tag team division. But here's what I do. If I'm going to put some importance on my tag team division, then I do it. I mean, you may say it's not, it looks like it's in shambles. Guess what? It's not. Because you got some teams together. You got the current champions, the Machine Guns. You got the challengers for this Sunday, Beer Money. You got Inc. You got Orlando Jordan and Eric Young, and you got London Brawling. As possibly you have Brutus Magnus and Brutus Magnus and Douglas Williams back together as the British Invasion. So you got 5 teams, possibly a 6th team with Williams and Magnus as the Invasion together once again, in that division, and that's pretty good. So what I do for my tag team division, if I'm TNA and I want to make my tag team division better this year than it's ever been, I put focus on it. Do I take the titles off the Machine Guns this Sunday? Well, if I was TNA, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't take them off. I wouldn't take them off the Machine Guns, even though they might take them off anyway. But I wouldn't take them off. What I would do if I was TNA is I would keep the belts on the Machine Guns, and I would have them defend. I would have them defend and against Beer. Well, here's what I would do, honestly. If you want to take the titles off Machine Guns, that's fine, but have Beer Money. Don't have Beer Money have a long-term reign. Have them drop the titles, but do it in a way that no one would see coming. Have them drop the titles to a team that nobody would ever expect. Have them drop them. This may sound crazy to some people, but have them drop the titles to a team like Eric Young and Orlando Jordan. Yeah, have them do that, and I guarantee you it would create interest, because all of a sudden you have this, what is considered one of the best tag teams in the world in Beer Money, suddenly dropping the titles to the odd couple team of TNA in Young and Jordan, and Orlando and Eric. So, you know what, that's what I would do. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. I would do that. I would focus on that. Okay? That's what I would focus on this year if I'm TNA. I would focus on it. I would focus doing something like that. If I'm going to take the titles off the Machine Guns, put them on Beer Money, fine. But then have Beer Money lose them to a team like Young and Jordan, and I guarantee you it would create interest. Because here's a team that obviously is getting over in some ways with the fans. And what you're doing with Young right now by making him think he's world champion, what better way to really make him think he's champion than to have him not only think he's world champion, but also have him being one half of the tag champions. Get what I'm saying? That's what I would do. I know that may sound silly to some people, but that's what I would do. And you know, I forgot to mention Generation Me. You know, they're also in the tag team division. Down the line, after you get, if you put the titles on Beer Money, and then do what I would suggest, put them on, have them lose it to a team like Jordan and Young, then later on, finally put the titles on a team like Generation Me. That's what I would do. I would do some tag team title changes. If I'm TNA and I want to put the titles on Beer Money this Sunday, do it. But then later on, down the line, probably sooner than later, have them drop it to a team like, say, Young and Jordan. And then later on, probably on a pay-per-view, have Young and Jordan, probably like, say, Slammiversary, drop it to a team like Generation Me. Get what I'm saying? And believe me, by doing that, it would create intrigue in your tag team division, and it would get people talking about not only your tag team division, but about your company. That's what I would do. One of the other things I would do to help TNA become better in 2011. Now, what else would I do? Well, what about some feuds? One of the feuds, apparently, that's going to finally come to a blow-off or to a close, probably in the next few months, is Angle and Jarrett. What do I do with that? Well, apparently they're going to have an exhibition this Sunday. We all know that when they have the exhibition, something's going to happen there. We don't know what's going to happen. And then what you do is you try to keep Kurt Angle away from Jeff Jarrett. Alright. Have Kurt Angle appear in the audience. Have him appear on screen. Have him distract Jarrett in some way, even though you're keeping him away from him. Have him distract Jarrett to the point that Jarrett wants Angle back in the ring. Then you have them face each other maybe in a one-on-one contest at, let's say, Destination X. And then you have the blow-off match to the feud at Lockdown inside the steel cage. And you make sure it's an all-out, and you make sure if you want to blow it off and put an end to it completely, once and for all, you let these guys just go out, bloody each other up, and then let whoever wins, win. Okay? That's what I would do to finally put this whole thing in perspective between Angle and Jarrett. That's how I would put the feud into perspective and have it come to a close. And to me, by doing so, not only would it probably give us one of the best matches TNA has ever had 2 months in a row, at Destination X as well as Lockdown, but it would get people talking about TNA and saying how good TNA is. In fact, if I'm TNA and I'm going to have that match at Lockdown, I make that one of my main events. I make that one of the matches I promote on my poster and on my billboards and all that. That's what I do. And believe me, you hype the match up, you put it on your billboards and your posters. Posters is one of the main events. And then you live up to that hype, and I guarantee you people will talk for a long time. Not just how good the match was, not just how good the pay-per-view was because of that match, but how good TNA is getting. That's what I would do. Now, as far as the world champion Jeff Hardy goes, if I'm TNA, and I know Jeff Hardy's probably going to go into the Slammer soon. Excuse me for a second. Okay, I got about 10 minutes. I know it's hard for me to say, but if I'm TNA and I know my world champion could be on the verge of going into the Slammer, here's what I do. I take the title off him. And the way I saw 2011, Evan, is by making things unpredictable. For example, like I mentioned earlier, Anderson and Morgan are going to face each other this Sunday in a #1 contenders match. Here's what I do instead. If I know Jeff Hardy's going to plead guilty and possibly be spending maybe the next year or two in jail, here's what I do. I change that match. I have someone like Mick Foley come out, or Dixie Carter come out, probably Dixie Carter, have her come out and say, hey, I've got some power back now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this to a triple threat, or a three-way. And you add Jeff Hardy in, put his world title on the line. Okay, you put his world title on the line. Then what you do is you have him lose the world title to Anderson and Morgan, to Anderson or Morgan, and then and thus that would allow him to take care of his business, take care of his personal stuff outside of the wrestling business, outside of TNA, by doing so. But even if you don't do that, and you get a set date for, let's say, his arrangement, then you take the title off him at Against All Odds. You either by giving the title back to RVD, giving the title to Anderson or Morgan, but you find a way to get the title off him before he possibly has to go to jail. But here's what else could happen. Knowing how Hogan and Bischoff and even Dixie are, but more importantly Hogan and Bischoff, seeing that Jeff Hardy's marketable as champion, what they'll probably do is do everything in their power to maybe have Hardy serve house arrest and probations and maybe community service, and that's it. That way they don't lose him to jail time. But if they can't get that, then what I do, either at Genesis or at Against All Odds, I get the title off Hardy before he ends up in jail. Because if they can't get, like I said, what I mentioned, the probation, the house arrest, and the community service, if they can't get one of those three, if not all three, one of those three, or two of those three, if not all three of them, they can't get that, and he ends up in jail, then get the title off of him before he enters the Slammer. That's what I would do. The only reason, believe it or not, they've kept the title on Hardy is because they know he's in the public eye right now as someone that's on the verge of facing major jail time, and they know that gets people talking about not only Jeff but about the company. That's why they have the title on him. That's just about it. But if I know he's going to end up in jail and I can't get one of the three, if not all three of what I mentioned, to keep him out of there, then I have to have him drop it either this Sunday in a surprise three-way, or an unscheduled three-way, or have him drop it at Against All Odds. That's what I do. But basically have him drop it before his arrangement for possibly going into prison. That's what I would do if I was TNA. Alright? That's what I would do. Now, what else would I do to help make TNA better? Well, I know a lot of people have been talking about this. Some have said what they need to do to make TNA better is they need to get rid of Hogan and Bischoff and Flair. Well, here's what you do. Hogan and Bischoff and Flair obviously have another 9.5 months or 8.5 months left on their contracts. That's about it. Here's what you do. You keep them off camera. Alright? You probably give them one backstage or one in-ring promo, and that's it. You mainly focus your backstage promos then, or your in-ring promos, or your backstage altercations on the men and women that are competing in the ring to help make your company the best in the world. That's what you do. Give someone like Bischoff, Hogan, and Flair, and maybe Dixie one promo in the ring, and maybe even one promo backstage. But for most of your Impact broadcast, focus your promos backstage, in ring, and your backstage altercation fights, whatever, on the men and women that are helping to build and make your company, TNA, the #1 company in the world, if not the best, one of the best companies in the world. That's what you do. And believe me, that will help make TNA better in 2011. Everything that I've mentioned in this video, this 30+ minute video, I believe if TNA does all that, capitalizes on everything I've mentioned, from the partnerships with New Japan and AAA, They look on the indie circuit. Look at places like Evolve, CZW, Ring of Honor, Dragon Gate, Shikara. They look all over. They listen to what the fans say. They listen to what the insiders say, the legends, those that have retired and are from the business. They listen to what they say. They listen to the promoters, and they bring in these men and women that can help the divisions that I mentioned at the beginning get better, and as well as they, you know, basically overall, everything I've said in this video, I believe if TNA focuses on those things, it'll help make the company better in 2011. And that is my response to Jeff Meacham's first Talk Wrestling HD video of 2011 on how to make TNA better this year. So tell me what you guys think. Respond if you like. And that's all I'm going to say. Have a good morning, good night, whatever. Have a good weekend. I am out.